Okay, recently I was asked about how to put weight into a swim bait to get it to swim most effectively. And for me, this is probably one of the most consistently simple processes to figure out. Um, what I do is I make a finished lure. I don't even worry about weights until I get the lure shaped and segmented the way I want it. I also want to make sure all my eyelets are in place, like this one right here. This is a two-piece sinking glide bait, and I get everything in there: eyelets, hooks on there, snap rings, and even when I take these two apart, before I start adding weight, I want to get my pin in there because that's part of it. So now I have all the components together minus the weights. So then it's very simple. I take a rubber band and I put a little wire around it. In this case, you want to use something really fine. It's not going to make much difference if it's there or not. So I use like a bread tie wire, which is very fine. And I take the rubber band, I slide it over the lure, I pour me some water, I drop this thing into the water and see how it sets. If I want it to float, I want it to float level. So I can move this rubber band, therefore adjusting where the weight is hanging. I want it back here, I can slide the rubber band back. Now one of the things you got to make sure of is that it's hanging straight down. You don't want it cocked upside because the rubber band is too tight or whatever. But anyway, once I get it to where it sits in the water just the way I want it, or if it's sinking in the water the way I like it, I make a mark right where that weight would be if it was inside the lure. And then I take the weight itself and I make a mark on the lure. So this is like a number, I think this is a number 3 split shot. So I write on the lure, number 3 split shot at this location. And then do the same thing to the other side. I come over here and I say, well, I got to sit this in the water and I want it to sit just like this one. If I want it to sit level in the water and float with just the back of it out, I start with a rubber band and I put weight on there. And the nice thing about using split shot is that you can clip them on and then take them off. And so you can add or subtract split shot, different sizes. I've got here, if you look inside here, I've got a little box that's got a variation of split shots. And it's important that you have that so that you get the right weight. It's a little finicky at times, so you want to make sure you've got the right size to get the right weight. But that's how simple it is. It's just a matter of moving your weights, and once you get the lure to set level, and say if it was sinking, if this sunk, say every 2 seconds it sunk a foot, well, you want this one to do the same. So once you have your locations figured out, then it's, for me, I mold my swim baits. A lot of guys are just carving them out of wood or whatever. So that applies to either way you do it, whether it's wood or poured through foam. But when you use a mold and you're reproducing them, you need a way of putting that weight into the mold. And I simply have a parting line that's right in the center of the lure, and then I clip a weight onto a wire. Say for instance, I wanted to, put this weight in that lure. And so I clip this thing on there, and I lay it in the mold, right where the mark would be on my mold. And when I shut the two halves, I pour halfway full of resin on one side, and my mold's hinged. And then I pour the other side, and when I shut the two together, then I've got this weight suspended right where I want it inside the lure. Perhaps I'll show a mold and show how that's done on a different video. But as far as adding weight to a swim bait to get it to swim right, it's a very simple process. It's just a matter of putting it in the water and adjusting the weights till you get them where you want as they hang underneath it. And another key is you don't want your weight up here around center somewhere. You want to keep your weight as low as possible. The more you keep it at the lower center of gravity, the more your lure will stay upright like it's supposed to. So that takes care of that. Now, I've also been busy painting up some bluegill lures. Look at those bad boys. If you haven't ordered one of these, you might want to get one ordered. You have to email me, todd@smacktackle.com. I've got several orders to get out but I'm still, you might have to wait a couple days, maybe a week. So the next project, which this is kind of a teaser video, it's going to be a gizzard shad, and it's going to be hybrid size. This thing's only like 4.5 inches long, 4 5/8 inches long, or whatever. And this is what we've been working on. So stay tuned. It's coming. We've got a lot more lures lined up. If you haven't hit those like buttons and you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. Subscribe. You'll get a notification when I'm going to release a video. And I just want to tell you thanks for all the support, and stay tuned.